Hegel. Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, the YemmytheFerret. I hope everyone's doing fantastic this week, or this past week, or this day that you are listening to this on. Ferret 64 is the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got a couple of things to talk about today, as usual, but first up, there was a state of play, and Silent Hill transmission. We'll get to both of those things here in the first section, which is what was announced at that game showcase. All right, so the state of play was on Thursday last week, and yeah, that's kind of what I have. That's my feelings for it right now. Let's get into the announcements from the showcase. First up, they had a CG trailer for Concord, and it featured a bunch of quirky characters doing their thing, doing a heist. And they're going against these more generic-looking bad guys who were trying to stop them. And then at the end of it all, they land on a ship and they go and take another job. And that's the end of the CG trailer. And if that was all that they showed off, I think we would have been pretty positive in this experience because it felt very Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, a team up of a bunch of different like quirky characters. There's the funny guy, kind of like Peter Quill. There was the one who's more so about the mission, like Gamora. Obviously, there was the Drax kind of guy who was very straightforward with his stuff. And then there was the robot guy who kind of reminds you of like Rocket or Groot. I guess more like Groot, I guess. And sure, it would have been a bit, like, oh, they're just kind of doing a Guardians of the Galaxy thing. But at least it would have been something a bit more unique than what it turned out to actually be. Right after that CG trailer, they showed off the actual game, a gameplay, all that good stuff. Well, maybe I shouldn't use the word good. I try not to judge too harshly on what a trailer looks like, but this looks like the generic Overwatch clone that will never really take off. Kind of like Lawbreakers in a way, where it's like, okay, you can tell it's very much inspired or at least copying off of what Overwatch did, and this one, Concord just looks no different. They took this really interesting like 90s vibe with like the logo and the like 90s sci-fi aesthetic, and they just kind of are doing nothing with it. They're just making it be a hero shooter. And if there wasn't already like 5 hero shooters on the market right now, I would say, oh yeah, sure, bring in a if Lawbreakers and fucking all those other ones that I can't think of right now. I've talked about them before. Some of them are already shut down. There was a Transformers one, right? No, it wasn't Transformers. It was that mech anime Gundam had one too. If all those other games hadn't come out and it was only Overwatch and only Overwatch for like a year, then I'd say, yeah, sure, this Concord game looks like it's going to be nice to play, something other than Overwatch. And I'm not saying that Overwatch 2 will be better than Concord. I mean, I haven't played Overwatch 2 in quite some time because I was just kind of burnt out on it and I didn't really like it anymore. Concord just does not look like something that is going to really impress the masses. I mean, it's probably going to have its core game fanatics, as most PlayStation and or just games in general do. But this one just does not look like the gameplay they showed off. It just did not look unique enough. It didn't look like it was doing anything different from what we already know. I mean, there were straight comparisons that you could make during the entire trailer that were like, oh, that looks like the Destiny grenade throw animation, and the explosion was pretty much the Destiny like fireball thing, and the other guy had like a Reaper-esque like multi-kill swing around on his character. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like I don't understand what we're going for here. We have Evolve inspired characters. We have Overwatch inspired characters. We have every character under the sun. And the odd thing is, and maybe they're just placeholder skins. Some of the characters look way too generic. Like they were doing like this montage of the big brute guy tearing up enemies, and the enemies were dying in one hit from like his shotgun and his melee attack. And I'm like, oh, there must be like little like ad kind of guys, like little cannon fodder guys running around to kind of boost up your kill count or your score or whatever. No, they were normal enemies who apparently have special abilities. So there's one with an assault rifle that I was like, oh, that's definitely like Soldier 76. You know, there's one with a rocket launcher, which reminds me of the guy from Lawbreakers. Like, I don't know what they're going for with this. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm just not like super impressed by it. And there's going to be a beta in July, but you need to pre-order the game, so it's not an open beta, at least not open yet. Maybe they'll open the doors if they don't get enough pre-orders, or maybe they'll do an open beta after the closed beta. I'm not sure. But as of right now, the game's going to launch in August, and the beta is going to be in July, so it isn't too far off, and I do like that it's not too far off. There's so many times where you watch a trailer, and it's like 2025 or 2026, and you're like, okay, at least we got something coming out in the near future, especially because PlayStation and Sony haven't really shown off anything for the later half of the year, so now we're finally filling in some of those gaps. But as of right now, not super impressed with what Concord is showing off. And that just leads me into the fact that they also had a Marvel Rivals trailer, and they confirmed that's coming to PlayStation. It's also coming to Xbox as well. But in the little state of play, they had a whole thing about Marvel Rivals, and there's going to be a closed beta test in July as well for that game. And it's just like, okay, so now you have two competing hero brawlers, to be honest. One of them is a PlayStation and PC exclusive, and the other one is multi-platform. I think I know which one might be winning out in this scenario. Also, one of them is based on characters that people know and love, while the other one is a bunch of mishmash characters who came out of nowhere. So Marvel Rivals, it's Overwatch. I think it looks okay. I don't think it's going to be anything that I'm going to play. Probably. Once again, it's very Overwatch-esque. It's very hero shooter / brawler, whatever you want to call it. And the trailer they showed off here in the state of play also showed off like a character with a Reaper attack who can do multiple kills around him, and there was a healing character kind of like Mercy, and it's all these. I mean, I get it. Like, it's not obviously if you have a hero brawler or whatever, you need a character who can heal people. You need a character who has high damage output but short range weapons. You need that stuff in the game to keep it all hunky dory, right? But for me personally, it's not unique enough. Like we've run the course of these hero shooters. We have the ones that work, and we have the ones that don't work. And the ones that don't work are usually shut down within a year or two. And the ones that do work, they have some longevity, and a lot of times they change things up and people don't like it, or they do like it. It's a very hot and cold system that's going on with these hero shooters now. And after the failure of so many hero shooters after Overwatch came out, it's unclear to me why, one, Sony feels like they need to join that group, and two, why Sony felt the need to put both two hero shooters / brawlers into the state of play, especially since Concord was their big reveal. Like, this is their opening reveal. This is the one that like is going to really connect with the masses, right? This is, if people turn off after 5 minutes, we need something that they'll be like, oh, I like that at least. And it just does not look like good. And Marvel's Rivals, though, that looks fine. It's got something unique in there with some destructibility in the environment as they've been showing off. But for the most part, it just does not see. Neither of these games seem like things that I'm going to be interested in, and possibly the wider gaming landscape might not be interested in as well. God of War Ragnarok's PC version has officially been confirmed for the 19th of September. It's a way farther off than I thought it was going to be. I thought that they were going to be releasing this PC version within the next, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks or possibly even a month. But September is a little bit farther than I was expecting for this. To everyone who hasn't played God of War Ragnarok, this PC version should be pretty good. It's got the ultra-wide support. It's got the... I'm sure it'll have modding community galore for it. It's going to support the NVIDIA DLSS 3.7, the AMD FSR 3.1, and the Intel XS 1.3. Also, you'll be able to have an unlimited frame rate with it as well. You can pre-order the game on Steam right now. There is a digital deluxe edition that'll have the full game, Kratos' Darkdale armor and Darkdale cosmetic, Darkdale blades, Darkdale axe grip, official God of War digital soundtrack, and the Dark Horse digital mini art book as well. If I'm not mistaken, you do need to have a PlayStation account to play this game, even though there's like no multiplayer aspect at all. I believe in the corner it did say that a PSN account was required. So that is interesting for them to do, especially after all of the controversy that just swept up around this whole idea. And it's interesting because Ghost of Tsushima just came to PC. Doesn't require a PSN account for the base game, but it does require one for the multiplayer, which I guess that would make sense, right? God of War Ragnarok is an entirely solo experience. You cannot play it online with multiple people. But I think Sony was like, well, I guess the main reason people were upset is because we weren't straightforward with the Helldivers thing. We delayed it before the game's launch. If we just tell people that you need a PSN account before, releasing the game, well, boom, bada bing, people won't be upset. I think people are still going to be upset because it is still like sign up for another service that maybe you don't want. But in general, it's better to be upfront about it than to put it in the background, as they did for Helldivers. But it is weird that it's on a single player experience 100%. It is very odd that they're sticking with that. I forgot to mention it also includes the Valhalla DLC, which that's not anything it was free anyway, so it's not like that's a big deal, but the DLC was pretty good, especially for long-time God of War fans. This leads me into the Until Dawn remake, which comes in fall of 2024. I believe this game also requires a PlayStation Network account in order to play, which is this is a pure one-player experience as well. Pretty crazy that you need to have, the PSN account linked with it. So I feel like I'm going crazy because everyone is like, oh my god, it looks so good, it looks crazy good, this is so amazing. And I'm here like, does it? Like, does it actually look that much better than the original game? Like, yeah, sure, the lighting effects are better, of course. And so, I guess some of the, the new camera angles that they've showed off and some of the new, like, character animations look okay. But the one thing that truly, like, stuck out like a sore thumb to me, there is a scene where, I don't remember their names, the blonde girl and the dude who tries to bang her are doing the snowball fight, which is a pretty iconic scene from the first game. The snowball isn't animated to explode when it hits his face. It just looks like she threw a baseball at him. It hits him in the face, and it just stays a circular form and falls over to the side. Whereas in the original game, she throws a snowball at his face and it explodes on his face. And it's just one of those things is like, I hope that this is just like a placeholder thing, or this is just something unfinished, right? And if it is unfinished, why are they showing it in the trailer? Like, why would I get it? It's an iconic scene, but if this is if this scene isn't 100% done, why show it at all? So yes, they could fix this in the full release of the game for sure, but then again, it's like, well, are you that overconfident that you show something that looks unfinished, unpolished? I don't get it. And once again, I don't think the game looks so much better that it's going to be worth like a full price tag. I think this is definitely. I mean, it definitely has those better lighting effects and has a couple things that look good in there. But for the most part, if I put these two games side by side, like, I don't know if it looks that much better. Like, there's some new camera angles here or there. There may be a new scene, I guess, as people are commenting. But I just, I mean, the original game was already looking. I mean, it already looks pretty good. Even, I mean, it doesn't like hold up super well in terms of graphics, but it looks. I mean, looks pretty good. I mean, it's not like it's unplayable. It's but yeah, it's just one of those things that's like, I don't know if this does look except so much better that I'm gonna be willing to spend $60 on it or whatever. I'm sure that I'm guessing it's gonna be like $40, and then there's gonna be some sort of upgrade path for like $10 if you have the PS4 version, right? That seems only fair. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, I have a still of the screen up right now, and it just doesn't look good. Like, from this still. And then you fast forward a little bit, and like, okay, so it has the bro kind of guy holding the shotgun with a dog next to him. That looks pretty good. I mean, this doesn't look bad at all, especially when they zoom in on him. And then there's another scene that's like, okay, it doesn't look much better than the original game, I don't think, but whatever. I'm very torn on this. It feels like maybe they're not done with the game and they're still fine-tuning things. So like, some of the scenes that they're showing off are unfinished, like the snowball fight and the part where the girls are going into the sewer, and then some scenes are completely polished, like the death animation or whatever for Ashley, and the saw blade scene where either Josh or Ashley gets cut in half, right? It just seems like some things are more polished than others, and I'm hoping that snowball explodes in the main release of the game. If it does not explode in the main release of the game, I will be very angry, but it is disappointing to see. I mean, this is a big first party title for PlayStation, and they're showing off this like crude animation of a snowball that looks like a baseball hitting the dude's face. I mean, what'd she pack that snowball with, huh? to make it keep form like that. It's just a little bit disappointing to see that, especially in a trailer that, I mean, it looks decently good. I mean, I'm not gonna like go crazy about it like some other people are, but I mean, it looks decently good. It looks a little bit better, but I don't know. I just don't know. And I feel like I'm like a solo voice in this sea of people. I even put out a video of me comparing the two scenes from the first game and the second. I mean, I'm sorry, from the remake and the original version of the game. And I mean, it got decent views on YouTube, but no one. I mean, there's a couple of. I mean, there's a good amount of likes, but there's really not much conversation about it for sure. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know how people are feeling. I don't know if they feel the same way. But I guess I'll have to wait and see for the final product at least. And hopefully, when they show that snowball scene again, that snowball explodes all over that dude's face. All right. Dynasty Warriors has a new game coming around called Dynasty Warriors Origins. I haven't really played a Dynasty Warriors game since like the Xbox 360. I played one of the early Dynasty Warriors games because it was one of the first games I played on the Xbox 360 at I think it was Kmart, had like a display stand, and that was one of the games you could test and play around with, along with Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official video game of the movie. So I don't really have a lot of experience with this franchise. I do know what it's like. You know, it's mobs and hordes of enemies, and you're a solo character, and you pretty much take them all out with your amazing skills, and it does look pretty good. I mean, for a game series that I'm not like super invested in, I do always like these trailers. It just shows a lot of action, a lot of like enemies flying around and dying and stuff like that. It's one of those games that always looks visually great. I don't know how well it's gonna hold up in terms of like longevity for like the gameplay, but as of right now, I think that I'm interested in it, and I may perhaps pick that up when it comes out. But it is not coming out until 2025, so we have a little while to go for that. One of the more odd games they showed off was called Infinity Nikki, which is an anime game where you play as either the little anime girl or the little anime cat. And there's like, I guess there's some platforming and combat in there. They didn't really show that off. They mostly showed off the world and the camera that you're going to be using to take pictures. But it looks like it's going to be an action platformer, possibly more so like Princess Peach Showtime in a way, where it's like you do sections of platforming and then you switch to like a battle mode, and you do battle with these, I don't know, strange creatures. Like there was a rock monster at one point who threw his insides at you, and there was also like a ghost hanging around at one point. But the main thing looks like it looks like you're just taking pictures in the environment. Obviously, the environment looks really beautiful. It looks really nice. But once again, I mean, this is like an odd kind of looking game. They said that there's going to be a test in Q3 of 2024. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means it's going to be an online experience or what. I don't know. But yeah, it's a very strange game to be showing off in this state of play. I mean, obviously it has a place. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they shouldn't show this off. You know, especially if it's a first party or a PlayStation 5 exclusive. But it's a weird game. It looks like a weird game. I'm sure it'll be fine. Like I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But for a majority of people, I think that the picture-taking anime waifu game it's going to be a bit of an odd thing to put after like your Dynasty Warrior Origin gameplay, or your Concord gameplay, right? It's a bit jarring. That's all I'm saying. Ballad of Antara is a free-to-play action RPG, which is coming in 2025. It looks like it's going to have multiple different characters to use against the enemies of the game. So I'm guessing you're going to get like a base free like group of 3 characters to use, and then you have to either buy or work your way towards more characters. The enemy designs look pretty cool. There were some like shadow creatures and giant birds. There's a lot of nice little effects in there too. But yeah, it didn't really show off enough to like make me super interested. Also, like the idea of it being a free-to-play action RPG was not conveyed in the game trailer itself. I had to read that in an article afterwards, which is like if your trailer fails to tell you what type of game it is, then that's a failed trailer. But I mean, yeah, there are hints of like of like a Souls-like gameplay in there, but when you're switching around characters and stuff like that, it's hard to be like, oh, well, is it? I mean, is it more? I don't know. Hard to say. But yeah, you'll be able to play with multiple characters, each possessing the power to traverse the worlds of the unimaginable, called emissaries. Each emissary is its own unique class, has its own gameplay, and it has its own capabilities. So yeah, I guess we'll wait and see for more information about this. As of right now, though, I wasn't like super thrilled with that, but there you go. That's Ballad of Antara. Another like feudal Japan, feudal whatever type game called Where Winds Meet was shown off as well. It kind of reminded me of Nioh a little bit at times. It seems like they mostly showed off like the bosses, and I was like, oh, is it going to be like a boss rush? No, it's an open world adventure RPG. But once again, the trailer did not convey that it was an open world RPG. It just looked like a boss rush kind of thing because it was pretty much only bosses that they were showing off, which is fine. I'm not going to really complain about that because the bosses look pretty cool, especially the guy who threw a big fish at you. but also like maybe show a little bit of that open world, you know, maybe show a little bit of the character like walking through an open area and maybe fighting a regular enemy, just to kind of hammer in the point like, yeah, this is an action RPG, it's an open world. The gameplay looks fine from what I saw. You know, I mean, there's obviously not enough here to really judge it fully, but this one's not coming around until, well, actually there is no timeline. It's just in development for the PS5. So that's a pretty interesting thing to reveal. Whatever. Silent Hill 2 Remake showed up here and also had its little transmission thing later in the day. It's coming October 8th, which I was not expecting to see a release date in the State of Play. I was expecting that for afterwards. But this Silent Hill 2 remake, it's kind of been laughed at for a little while now. People who are fans of Silent Hill 2 and the Silent Hill franchise, I don't think that people are really connecting with it, or I'm not sure exactly what to say because I've never played the game. And to me, from the outside looking in, like, yeah, sure, it looks fine. There's some good stuff that I can see in here. But if there's someone who like knows the game, they're obviously going to have a little bit more to say than I have to say. So I don't want to say too much because I'm not a big Silent Hill nut, you know. But I do know just from the various people who I talk to, whether it be in Discord or watch on YouTube, there's been some discourse around the game, and which is unfortunate because in general I think the game looks good. Sure, there's some rough voice acting and character animations in there, and the main character looks like generic man number 1, you know, on like the Madden player selector. And there's this kind of like goofy looking little girl in the one trailer as well. It's just kind of like a little bit laughable. I think it's supposed to be an intense moment, and she's just like, yeah. Yeah, that being said, this is coming out October 8th. You can pre-order it now. There are 2 exclusive James Sunderland masks available for people who register their interest. Mira the Dog and Robbie the Rabbit. And you can buy the game for $70, or you can buy the digital deluxe edition for $80, which will come with an additional Pyramid Head mask, digital art book, and digital soundtrack. You'll also be able to play the game 48 hours earlier if you buy the digital deluxe edition, which is a scam, by the way, folks. Do not pay the extra price to play the game early. That is literally a scam to milk money out of the people who do this for their hobby or their job that want to talk about the game or review the game. Okay? It is a literal scam to do that. Not the game itself, but to do that. All right, there were 2 PSVR 2 games shown off, which is nice. The one looked pretty cool, called Behemoth, which was a melee-focused combat kind of game. A little bit of archery in there as well, of course. Very kind of like medieval-style gameplay, but you fight groups of enemies, and then you fight these giant Shadow of the Colossus-type behemoths, the name of the game. So the combat looks pretty fun, you know, especially because this guy really knows what he's doing. There's a little bit of like a grapple hook as well. You can use to like, grab guys' swords and arrows out of the air, which is kind of cool. In terms of like fighting the big behemoths themselves, they didn't really show much of that other than like, okay, so he used the grappling hook to maybe grapple to a point and whatever, but they mostly showed fighting the regular enemies, which looked pretty satisfying, I guess. This is coming in fall of 2024. This is one of those games that like really makes you feel the scale of the game, which is nice. There's so many VR games that's like, okay, well, that's supposed to be really tall, isn't it? This one looks pretty good from what I saw in there. So if you want to check that out, the Behemoth trailer, it looked pretty good. The other game was Alien Rogue Incursion, which I find it hard to start getting excited for this because they showed so little of the game. And what they did show had a bit of a weak frame rate. When the alien appears, the frame rate dips to like, I don't know, 15, 20 FPS. And once again, like if you're showing this off at your big game showcase, maybe use something that you have more finish or more polish to. But that being said, it's coming in holiday of 2024. The atmosphere looks on point. The style of the game looks on point, and I do expect to play this game when it comes out. But I do want to see more gameplay just to make sure that it's going to be a stable running game. Because the one thing I hate in VR games is when the frame rate stutters. It really hurts my eyes, and then I have to stop playing. Um, and then sometimes I'll stop playing for months on end because I'm afraid to go back to it. So they really need to polish this up if they really want me to play it. And next up, we have Monster Hunter Wilds. I think I called it Worlds last time I talked about it. I meant Wilds, but whatever. So Monster Hunter Wilds is the sequel to Monster Hunter World, and if you owned Monster Hunter World, you have 2 free skins for your little cat in the game. The graphics I guess the graphics in general look pretty good. There's some fun character designs in there. The voice acting, not too great, but I think that this is one of those games where the gameplay speaks more for it than the story, I guess. There's a lot of people who love Monster Hunter Worlds, and I'm sure Wilds is going to be right up their alley. For me, though, I'm not really into these games. I tried to play Monster Hunter Worlds, wasn't really into it, and I don't think I'll be trying this game out. I mean, it doesn't look bad. I'm not saying it looks bad at all. It's just not a game for me personally, which is unfortunate because I mean, this looks like a game that maybe the younger me would have liked, but nowadays it just doesn't look like something that I would really want to spend my time in. Like I said, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be great. I'm sure it'll be great for Monster Hunter fans. But for me personally, not really super crazy about this one. And this is coming in 2025 sometime. And then finally, the biggest reveal of all. A standalone, not pack-in Astrobot game is coming to the PlayStation, and boy, oh boy, does this look fantastic. The music is on point, the visuals are on point, the gameplay looks on point. This is one of those experiences that will be a staple of the PS5 for years to come. I can guarantee it, especially because the last game, Astrobot Playroom, was really, really good. I mean, that's like, it's hard to believe that Astrobot is still the best experience on the PS5, hands down. Like, and that's just a mini little pack-in game. It's free to download on the PlayStation Store if you either never downloaded it or you deleted it off your hard drive. It's free. And it's so good. It's like the best experience on the PS5 in terms of not just, I mean, graphically it looks really nice. And also, like, gameplay-wise, it's very smooth. It utilizes every little bit and piece of the PlayStation, which you can't say about most of these other games that come out. Anything that, the only game that come close is, like, I think Returnal was utilized a lot of what the PlayStation could do. And, I mean, the rest of the games don't really utilize the PlayStation controller or the PlayStation's hardware. I can't think of another game that's like really wowed me with its use of that stuff. And when I think about a must-play PS5 game, I always say Astrobot, the Playground, whatever it's called. And like I said, this is a full-fledged game. Looks like there's going to be collectibles. Looks like there's going to be more boss fights, lots more platforming challenges, maybe more speed runs, which were pretty fun to do. Well, obviously, lots of references to PlayStation's history, including Ico, God of War Ragnarok. Pretty much every single piece of equipment from the first game is featured in the trailer here, with the PS3, the PSP, etc., etc., etc. They also showed Parappa the Rappa as an Astrobot. I'm trying to think of who else. Ico already said. God of War, Kratos. Nathan Drake, and the character from Journey as well. It looks like you're going to be traversing more environments too, not just a desert and like a forest area, but there's also the sky area, an underground area, an underwater area. So yeah, I'm very excited for this. We don't have to wait too long for it. I believe it's coming, September 6th, which is pretty nice, to PS5 exclusively. And I think this is going to be another game that's like, okay, yeah, I think this is going to be a must-play on the PS5, which is a bit rare, let's be honest. Besides from God of War Ragnarok, the original Astrobot game, maybe Horizon Forbidden West. Like, this will be a true must play on the PS5. So very excited for that. Looks great. Highly recommend checking out that trailer. And that's it. So I guess I'm a bit more. I was pretty upset after watching. I mean, not upset as in like it ruined my day, but just kind of like underwhelmed, I guess you could say, about the state of play. And I still am kind of underwhelmed, but I don't think it's as bad as I first initially thought it was. But I am gonna still give it like a low C, closer to a D. This one really just didn't really work for me. Concord, which was their big thing, just fell flat in my opinion. Like the CG trailer, you leave it at that. I bet this. I mean, I would have been fine with that, being a little goofy kind of Guardians of the Galaxy parody. But nope, it's a hero brawler or shooter. And the rest of the announcements just really resonating with me. Like, sure, Dynasty Warriors looks okay. Obviously, Until Dawn remake is always. I mean, that not always, but it's going to be one of those things that kind of perks me up while we're watching. But then again, it didn't like super impress me when I was watching the trailer because of that stupid snowball, And then the Astrobot was obviously an amazing reveal, but I wish that it was an amazing reveal in a better state of play. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, low C tier for me, or C grade for me for this one. I wasn't really crazy about it, but on a couple rewatches, I don't mind it as it's not like I viscerally hate it anymore. I'm just kind of like indifferent about it at this point because it's just one of those things I had to cool down a little bit after watching it originally. So that is that. Let's go ahead and talk about what I've been playing this past week. All right, Multiversus is back. It's available everywhere for free again. And this new version of the game just doesn't feel as good to me. I played probably about 3 or 4 hours of the original Multiversus when it was in beta mode. And I generally had a good good time with it. I was kind of tired of losing my characters and there was really only the multiplayer mode and the practice mode. Like, there really wasn't much else to do. So I was excited when they said, like, there's going to be new rifts. It's, like, single-player content, blah, 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 blah. You get some free characters, etc., etc. And even though I do appreciate the single-player content and the single-player offerings, I appreciate the free characters that you get if you already played the beta, like Jason Voorhees, and you get the Banana Guardian if you log in 2 days in a row. Which was, I do love the Banana Guard character. He's like my new favorite character in the game, but that's not saying much because I haven't been able to play as most of the characters in the game. You start off with like only having Shaggy, Wonder Woman, and Finn from Adventure Time, and you have to earn all the other characters, which for a free-to-play game doesn't seem too daunting, but when you think about all the hours you need to put into the game, it starts to get a bit ridiculous. So, to unlock a character in the game, you need like 2,000 currency for unlocking characters. And to earn the currency, you have to level up your characters to the maximum level. And getting a character at the maximum level only nets you like 500 of those coins. So you would need to upgrade 4 characters all the way to max in order to unlock a new character. And it does take a while to do that. And also, your characters rotate if you're not using the available characters. Your characters rotate every day. So, if you can use like Superman and Black Adam and Bugs Bunny for that day, and if you're really like a person who loves punishment, then sure, you can probably knock them out in a day or so. But for most people, you're not going to be using the same character over and over and over again because that's not fun. When you're playing Smash Brothers Ultimate, you're always changing up your character because you want to play as everyone. There's so many characters, and you can have your meta, you can have your main character that you use. But usually, like if I'm like my favorite character to use was Diddy Kong for quite some time. But I would always change it up every so often because I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of boring to play the same character over and over and over again. you know? So when I was playing through the Rift mode, I was only using the Banana Guardian, and I was like, it's kind of boring, but also like I don't want to switch this up because the Rifts are kind of difficult. Not on the easy mode. The easy mode makes things way too easy, and you get the least amount of XP for that. But the next level up is like called intermediate, and I tell you, I was about 5 rifts in, and I was getting my ass handed to me for no apparent reason. Well, okay, I do know the reason. It's because they give the enemy that you're facing like double damage. I got hit 3 times by that Arya, the Game of Thrones girl, and I was already at 70 damage. I was like, what the heck? And I hit her like multiple times, and she was only at like 20. And I'm like, what the heck? This is intermediate mode? Like, this is crazy. So I did decide to do the rest of the game on easy mode because it's like, well, I would rather not have to redo matches over and over and over and over again. Also, I don't think that I'm going to be playing it for too much longer. I'm going to get through these rifts and be done with it. So there's 2 rifts available at the start, and then they're going to be adding more later on. So if you're following the story, quote unquote, you start off fighting like the Joker and his gang of Jokerites, and then you fight through another round of rifts that are based on Stripe from Gremlins. He's like the main character. And then the third rift is all based around Jason Voorhees, but you can't unlock that until 4 days later. That's when that one comes out. So you got stuck right there. And I was just like really like, wow, we are really doing this, huh? We're just stopping the gameplay for no fucking reason other than we want you to wait to do this. Thanks a lot. Also, there's stuff stuck behind a paywall in each of these fucking rifts, which is just so annoying. In order to get the better XP gains, the better, fights, the more unique fights with characters you haven't already fought, you need to have this specific version of Harley Quinn in like the Joker skin, or you need to have this version, or you need to have this specific character unlocked, like Bugs Bunny or whoever, right? And it's just so annoying to me. Like, this is the single-player content. I should be able to do the single-player content with whatever character I want, one. And 2, I shouldn't have to spend money to play through the single-player content. I shouldn't have to buy a skin in order to play through some of the fucking Rift levels. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's fucking ridiculous. And then on top of all that, I was looking through the skins, and sure, some of them are priced pretty normally, like $5 or whatever. But then you get all the way to the end, and there's like a Batman Samurai skin that's going for 4,800 points. And if you don't know, 4,000 is $40. On sale, it's 3,800 though, $38. Wow, $40 for a fucking Batman skin with a few like little knickknacks on the side. Like a character card and an emblem. Ooh boy, $40, more than 40. If it's 4,200, that's you would have to buy the $40 price and then like an extra like 500 for like $5. Like it's so ridiculous. The pricing on this shit is so crazy, and there's so many skins that you can buy that are like 2,500. They do that on purpose so that you buy the 2,000 and a 500 or whatever, or they do that on purpose because they're like, oh well, then they'll just buy the $40 the package. It's just it's so like, and I don't remember this stuff being as heavily in the original release. And if it was in the original release, I didn't mind it because the rotation of characters was more than just 3. And there was an easier way to buy characters, if I remember correctly. You earn those coins much faster. That's another thing too. I talked about this last week. There's too many currencies in this game. There's like 5 different currencies. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why there are so many freaking currencies, and I'm sure it's easy to keep track of them all for someone out there, but for me personally, it's just kind of dumb. It's too much, in my opinion. The gameplay itself was also changed. They zoomed in the camera much more, so you can't see the battlefield almost at all at times, which is very annoying, especially if you're trying to, especially on those levels where there are like shields and stuff protecting the out of bounds for a little while, or they respawn sometimes. Like, you can't tell if you're gonna knock someone out or not because it's too zoomed in, and by the time that it zooms all the way out, it's like it doesn't really matter because you've already won the match at that point. I also feel like the gameplay was slowed down a bit. It doesn't feel as fast and snappy as the original version of the game, and this could just be me misremembering because I have played a lot of little, these kind of like, side, these hero Smash Brothers like games. Like I have played a good amount of them. Brawlhalla, the indie game one, which I forget what that's called. Brawlout, yeah, Brawlout. Of course, Smash Brothers themselves. So I could be mixing up something here, but I do remember the game being quicker when it was in beta mode, and now it just feels a bit slower. And I was able to crush like the three people who I fought in a 1v1 because I was able to utilize like the slower movement to my advantage. I was like, wow, I can easily predict what they're going to do because the character's falling so slowly from the top. Like I know what they're going to do. They're going to do a downward attack, so I just move out of the way and hit them with a side smash. It's just one of those things. It's like it needed to be quick and snappy because then the decision making is not slowed down to a crawl. But with this new version of the game, I feel like I'm one step ahead of everyone because the game moves so slow. I can easily predict what they're about to do almost every single time. And it gets pretty annoying, especially when you're doing like these riffs and you're just battling over and over and over and over again, and you're just doing the same stuff over and over and over again. I love the Banana Guardian character, but I got bored while playing as him because I'm just doing the same 3 combo moves over and over and over again because I'm able to fool the AI because they're moving around so freaking slow. So yeah, all in all, I think they ruined it. I think that they truly ruined the game. They should have just kept the beta up and kept going with that. I don't know why they felt the need to shut the game down entirely and redo whatever, but it definitely hurt the game in my opinion. I appreciate all the hard work that they put into this, and I appreciate the fact that there's some free characters you can get right now, and you get the season pass for free if you were playing the beta and you log in within the first like couple like a month or whatever. I appreciate that to no end, but the game just is not as fun as it was anymore. The rifts are not fun, the paywalls are not fun, and the gameplay itself just does not feel good anymore. So all in all, I'm not going to be coming back to this one. Maybe if they do an update and people say that they've improved the game, sure. But as of right now, I don't think I'll be coming back to Multiversus, unfortunately. All right, next up, I want to talk about Nine Souls, spelled S-O-L-S. This is actually a Sekiro-inspired 2D Metroidvania. Is it a Metroidvania? Yeah, it is kind of a Metroidvania. It's like a hardcore Metroidvania. And I've been enjoying it so far. I'm not like super far through it because I only started on like Friday. But so far the game has been very interesting, and the gameplay has been very interesting as well. So you play as this like cat-like character who is defeated in some battle and thrown into the abyss, and these tentacle things repair or heal its body, and it gets saved by like this little human character that they call them ape men. And then through some events, you transport yourself back to where you were when you were, well, maybe not where you were, but you transport yourself to the other side of a rift, and you go back to your world where the humans are used like animals, kind of like Planet of the Apes. They're killed, and their bodies are used for like substance and stuff. And there's like these robot guards that you need to take down, and that's where the combat really starts to get interesting because you start to learn how things work in the game. So obviously there's a big emphasis on deflection, just like in Sekiro or something like that, where you press the button, the deflect button at the right time, and you don't get hurt, and you deflect the blow, and the enemy kind of starts to get exhausted. And once the enemy is fully exhausted, you can do like a special move where you press and hold RB. You fly through them, and then you put like this little talisman on them that explodes after a couple seconds, which is pretty cool. It's pretty satisfying. And there's been a good variety of enemies so far. There's regular sword guys. There's guys with crossbows, spears. There's like these flying robots. Some of them shoot at you. Some of them try and kamikaze into you. There's also like stationary turrets that you can only deflect their bullets back at them, and you need to unlock that upgrade for that. But so far, the main goal of the game is to hunt down the 9, I guess, leaders of this area, and you're trying to like shut down their operations because you think it's inhumane. So you start off and you go one direction, and you get like this move that allows you to do like a hollow knight, downward hit to bounce you back upwards, right? But it's just pressing a button on like a little bouncy thing, and it gives you some height. So they've been playing around with that. And like I said, so far I'm not like super far into it, but it is very intriguing so far. It's very cool so far. I've been enjoying my time with it. The animation is really nice. The world is pretty nice. The music is cool. I like the music. The combat takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's not. I mean, it didn't take me too long to understand what it was going for. So that was nice. I was able to get into it. I mean, obviously, the whole thing with parrying is like getting that perfect precision, and sometimes I just mess it up and you get hit like 3 times in a row and die. That's kind of the name of the game, though, in all honesty. So, games like these make me want to go back and retry playing through Sekiro, because maybe I didn't give it its fair shake when I originally played it. I got past like the first area and I was like, I can't do this. Sekiro came out during a time when I wasn't like super into Souls-likes, and the ones I was into, like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, were way different from Sekiro. So retraining my brain at that point to play Sekiro was not in the cards, because I was still trying to just get through the basics of like a Souls game, right? So maybe I can go back and play it now and work my way through it, but we'll see in the future, if I ever get around to playing that again. But yeah, Nine Souls has been pretty cool so far. Like I said before, I can't really like say much more about it because I haven't gotten too far in it, but we'll see if by this time next week I'll have played through more of it. Another game, kind of a goofy game that I've been playing for a couple weeks now, I just forgot to talk about. It's called State.io. This is one of those games that they put on the YouTube game app or whatever. There's like a bunch of free like mobile games on YouTube they can play through, and State.io is one of those games, and I've actually been having a decent time with it. Essentially, all you do is you build up your force of dots, and then you move them to another location and take it over. So it's kind of like Risk in a way, where you need to have a higher number of soldiers or whatever units, and you can overtake the area or overtake the enemy that you're fighting. And the reason why it's called State.io is because you start off on the United States of America map, where you go from you start off with like the western region, and you take over the entire western region. Then you move to like the middle or the southern region, and you take that over. But you do eventually go to the other places in the world, like the UK, Europe, Australia, all these different places. You go to them and you take them all over. And then once you reach Australia, everything resets back to the United States, which I've done a couple times at this point. And it does start to get a little bit harder. You need more troops to take over blank areas. The AI starts to rebuild troops faster and whatever. So you need to spend these coins that you acquire from beating the levels. And there's also like an offline ticker as well. You earn coins just being offline, which is amazing. You can just get like 34,000 gold by just leaving it off, by staying offline all night. It's kind of crazy. But the nice thing is you earn coins pretty quickly, so I feel like you can keep up with the AI, and even if you don't, if you're struggling, you can just kind of stay offline for a day or two and start and buy more upgrades for your characters. It's not that crazy. You also get free gifts, so you don't have to pay for like the different symbols and things you can use, which is nice. Actually, there's no like real money exchange in the game at all, I don't think. And even if there was, you earn coins fast enough that you don't really need to do that. So whatever. But for like it's a little goofy kind of game. It's very simple, but it's very effective. It's a nice time waster type game, And in general, it just it's actually not too bad, all things considered. And obviously, if everyone has YouTube, you can play any of these games. This one runs pretty good though. Like, there's a couple of these they're essentially mobile games that you play, and some of them run like shit. Like, there's this one where you like run. It's called like Running Man or something like that, and the frame rate's terrible. The gameplay pace is terrible. It just was not optimized for the YouTube site. But State.io, it's simple enough, it's effective, it's a nice time waster. Maybe try picking it up, or not picking it up, but just playing it. It's free to play, so it's not like you need to spend any money. I've been playing it for about 2 weeks straight now, just kind of on and off when I have time or when I'm bored, and it's been a good time. It's been a fun time, and maybe try it out yourself if you want to check it out. And then on stream, we started our summer backlog bonanza. I put a bunch of games that are like 10 hours or less, maybe more like 20 hours or less, into my my backlog marble race. So there's like 340 games in total, and we rolled marbles, and Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry came up first for the games that we were just going to start off with. If you want to join the contest or see what it's all about, join the Discord, link in the description below, and we'd love to have you join in, of course. But essentially, we played Freedom Cry. I started out liking it, but the problem with this game is, one, it's not optimized very well. There's a lot of glitches, a lot of bugs that I ran into. I had to restart the game a couple times, which is no bueno. Also, the free running's kind of scuffed, much like it is in Black Flag, but I guess whatever. It's still an annoyance to me. And then the story was not really well put together. I like what they were going for with Adwali freeing these Haitian slaves and starting the Haitian rebellion, but it just, like, the story was just not well put together at all. Like, you would go through a cutscene where the Adwali is talking to this one character, and she's like yelling at him, and she's like fuck you, get out. And then you can just turn around and go to the next memory sequence, and she's like back to liking you again, or like she's indifferent, like she doesn't. It's so jarring, All of a sudden she goes from like not liking you to helping you again. It's like, I don't know if this really works too well. And that lasts all the way through the game up until the end. It's kind of bizarre. Because at the end of the game, she's like holding your hand, like she romantically, and you're like, well, weren't you just like screaming at me like a cutscene ago? Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. So once again, I like what they were going for, but it's just one of those things that kind of just falls flat. It's not well put together, and Adwali deserves better. Like, he was a great character in Black Flag, and I would have loved to see him flourish more in this game and in Assassin's Creed Rogue, honestly. But unfortunately, that's just not the way that it went. So, I guess in the end, I'm a bit disappointed with it. It's below average for sure. I gave it a D tier. Is it worth playing through? Honestly, I think it is worth at least playing through, because it's so short. It's like a 2.5 hour game. Yeah, it's got 9 memory sequences, and it's got a little bit of an open world that you got to deal with, which is fun. The open world's nice too. I think it is worth at least playing if you have it, because it's Assassin's Creed. You know what you're getting into. It has the ship combat in there. It's just unfortunate that like the new machete is so much fun to use as well. It's just unfortunate that there's so many bugs and stuff in this game, and it's just not fleshed out the way that it needs to be. And I know that, yeah, it was a spin-off for Black Flag. I understand that. It's a standalone game now, and I think that's the way that most people are going to view it and see it and play it. So I got to judge it as its own standalone experience. And yeah, as its own standalone experience, it's a D tier. But it's a D tier with an asterisk saying, at least play it once, just to get the timeline if you're going through all the Assassin's Creeds, or just get the experience, Because it does have an interesting premise. It does have an interesting start to the story. But unfortunately, it just did not deliver on the fronts that I needed it to. All right, let's switch gears. Go over to what's in the news. All right. The Neil Druckmann interview has been taken down from Sony's website or Sony's blog. And they are apologizing to Neil for misrepresenting his words, they say. If you don't recall from last week, Neil Druckmann, he was quoted as saying some weird things about like AI and the future of gaming and stuff like that in like an interview with PlayStation. And what he did is he came out and said, "Hey, look, I was misquoted. I didn't actually say any of like some of this stuff." And he actually released like the full ramblings that he did that they needed to slim down and make into a bite-sized interview piece, right? And yes, he could have taken out the part where he talks about AI from his ramblings, I guess, which would be shady, but we have to go along with what we're shown right now. And what we were shown was, a bunch of rambling, sure, but didn't mention anything of AI or anything like that. So, yeah, he was saying stuff like AI will redefine mainstream perceptions of gaming and stuff like that, which, obviously these are quotes that people are mostly not going to agree with. Me personally, I don't agree with AI taking over roles of, actual people being, making these games. Like, I think that's a nice tool, but you always need that human element. You need that human element to refine what it's doing and make sure that, check it. You can't let it just kind of go wild, right? So yeah, he came out on Twitter. He clarified what he said in his comments, and then Sony, they've actually admitted to misquoting him in a statement from Sony. They said, in reviewing our recent interview with Neil Druckmann, we have found several significant errors and inaccuracies that don't represent his perspective and values, including topics such as animation, writing, technology, AI, and future projects. We apologize to Neil for misrepresenting his words and for any negative impact this interview might have caused him and his team. In coordination with Naughty Dog and Sony Entertainment, we have removed the interview, which is a good thing, because if it's not really what he said, then why put it up in the first place, right? So, I mean, yeah, Neil got a bunch of hate from this, and even though I think that he does deserve some form of backlash from what he's done in the past in terms of, like, game crunch and stuff like that, forcing his workers to work through holidays and stuff, which is no bueno. I guess that this is the one area where it's like, okay, we can hold back. Not hold. I'm not. That's not what I meant to say. Where we can step back and say, okay, he was misquoted. He didn't actually say that. You can still not like Neil Druckmann. That's your prerogative. But they took down the interview because they misrepresented what he said, misquoted what he said. So I guess what I'm saying is just maybe step back from hating on Neil Druckmann for this, because he was supposedly, if we're to believe everything, misquoted and misrepresented, and he didn't actually say the things that Sony quoted him as saying. And once again, like I said, I mean, I could go conspiracy theorist, just like the people with the Stellar Blade censorship went conspiracy theorist, and be like, oh, he just removed the part where he talked about AI from his rambling post. But I'm not one of those people, so I'm going to take it at face value for now. And if more information comes out in the future, we'll talk about it again. But as of right now, I think Neil can sleep soundly knowing that Sony took down the post or the interview, and people will probably forget about this in the near future. And if people do bring it up in like future posts, you can always say, hey, they took the interview down, blah blah blah. All right. The new PS2 emulator is up and running for the PS5, meaning that we're going to be getting some PS2 games in the PS Plus catalog. It was leaked earlier this year that Star Wars The Clone Wars was coming to the service, and people were kind of skeptical, but then it came out that there was a PS2 emulator in the works at PlayStation for the PS5. And now, boom, bada bing, it's here and it's ready to go. With the new emulator, it'll incorporate up rendering, rewinds, quick saves, and custom video filters. There was no talk of whether there was going to be trophy support. I'm guessing it's going to be a title by title basis. So, Sly Cooper probably has trophy support, but maybe Star Wars Clone Wars doesn't. We'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of games that could definitely come to the services now that the PS2 has opened its floodgates. The PS2 is one of the best-selling consoles of all time. It has a very distinct and beautiful library of games for the most part. So we could see stuff like, I don't know, Twisted Metal Black, Bully, Ape Escape, etc. But as of right now, they revealed that there's 3 games coming to the service on June 11th, and they are Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, or just Sly Cooper in Europe. This is a game that was re-released on the PS3 in a HD collection, so it already has a trophy list attached to it. It's a pretty good game. I like it better than the second game. And then also Tomb Raider Legend and Star Wars: The Clone Wars, as was already said, are also coming to the service as well on June 11th. And like I said, those will feature the rewind feature and up-resing and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So I am excited to try some of this out. I think I'm probably gonna get the Star Wars Clone Wars game because that was a childhood favorite of mine, and I replayed it a while ago on Twitch, right around the time where I started streaming on Twitch actually, and I mean, it was decent. It's funny because the game came out before they knew how to pronounce Kashyyyk, so they keep calling it Kashyyyk, which is just kind of funny. But anyway, it's a decent game, so I definitely would like to replay that, especially if it has trophy support. I would love to see what the trophies are like for that, but I don't think that there's going to be trophy support for some of these older games that because I don't think that any of the Star Wars games on the like the PS1 ever got trophy support. So I don't expect there to be trophy support for the old, like the Star Wars games or something like that. But the ones that are on PlayStation, from PlayStation, they usually do include trophies. And Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus already has trophy support in the HD version of the game, so there you go. All right, there is a PC adapter coming for the PSVR 2, and it seems that it's going to be coming out in the near future. Sony announced like a month or two ago that the PlayStation VR 2 was going to be compatible with PCs in the near future, meaning that you can load up Steam or something like that and plug in your PSVR 2 headset, connect the controllers, and boom, bada bing, you can now play Steam games in the VR Steam games in the PSVR 2. So apparently they need to have a adapter for this to work, which I'm not sure why they would need this, seeing as it's already a USB-C connection, but maybe the adapter allows the PSVR 2 to connect to the computer, because right now you can probably connect it, but it won't do anything. So maybe that's why they need the adapter. I'm sure that a firmware update could also solve the problem, but maybe this is just a better way to do it. I don't know. In terms of like what this adapter accessory will be, it's hard to say right now in some ways, because like, okay, it's probably just going to plug into the cord, and then the cord's going to plug into the, or the adapter's going to plug into your computer. So once again, I'm not sure why they technically need to do an adapter. I mean, they're probably going to sell it for like $50 or something like that. Maybe it's just a way they make extra money from this endeavor that they did, but it is nice that you will be able to use the VR2 on Steam or on your PC. I used my Oculus, I think it's the Oculus Quest 2. I used that on my PC with the USB-C cable that connects to it. That worked pretty well. Obviously, there's going to be some games that aren't compatible, but for the most part, I didn't run into any problems with that. I played through a little bit of the Half-Life VR game, and there was also that Medal of Honor game that came out for VR as well that I played. And like, it's not going to be perfect because it is, it's the computer using that hardware to do the VR stuff. I think the PSVR 2 has better hardware than the Oculus Quest 2, but we'll have to wait and see how it performs when the adapter does come out. Ubisoft has confirmed that it's doing a forward showcase in the near future. Obviously, we're going to see some of their up-and-coming games like Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws, along with probably some updates for games that were recently released like X-Defiant or X-Diarrhea. So on Twitter, they confirmed that there is going to be a Ubisoft Forward taking place live from LA on June 10th. and it's going to start around 12 p.m. Pacific time, which is about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard. The trailer itself showed off a couple of things: X Defiant, Assassin's Creed, Star Wars Outlaws. So the stuff that you kind of expect to see at here. I'm sure there might be like a special, who knows what, coming around as well. Maybe we'll see some more of that Assassin's Creed Jade as well. And but yeah, that's I mean, it's always exciting to see what studios are up to, of course. And even though Ubisoft is not the greatest publisher ever, I am excited for the Assassin's Creed game and for the Star Wars game. So I would like to see more about that. If they show more gameplay for Outlaws and they show gameplay for Assassin's Creed Shadows, that'll be great. So I definitely will be watching that, and I'll let you know what's all about, what's all in that. Toys for Bob is partnering up with Xbox to publish their next game. Toys for Bob became an independent studio earlier this year, as you've already stated. They were going to be shut down by Xbox and Microsoft. When they left the company and started to be independent, they said there's no ill will towards Xbox, probably because they wanted to keep working with their IPs. They didn't want to burn any bridges there. So in a statement, they said, "We're excited to announce that we will be partnering with Xbox to publish our next game. We're still very early in development, so you might not hear from us for a bit, but know that we're working hard on an experience we're so inspired about. Can't wait to share more." So this could either be another Crash Bandicoot game, Crash 5. This could be a rebirth of the Spyro franchise with Spyro 4. Or it could be something completely different. People have been speculating maybe Banjo-Kazooie, maybe Conker's Bad Fur Day, maybe one of these older games that haven't had a lot of love in the last couple of years. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm leaning towards it's probably going to be Crash Bandicoot because Crash is very, very popular. Crash 4 sold really well, reviewed really well. The Insane Trilogy reviewed very well. And even though the Spyro Trilogy also did pretty well in the reviews, I think Crash Bandicoot is a more recognizable character at this point than Spyro, unfortunately. So, yeah, we'll wait to hear more from them. It's interesting that they're partnering with the people who were trying to shut them down. But like I said, it's probably just like, hey, we want to keep using these IPs and work on games for these IPs. And the best way to do that would be not to call Xbox little bitches. Continuing on with the Xbox news, Bethesda developers have kind of formed a union inside of Xbox here. They have stronger employee rights now inside of the company. As you all know, there's been a lot of layoffs these past couple of months, and Bethesda has been also a part of those layoffs with studios closing and stuff like that. So ZeniMax, the conglomerate that Xbox owns that also owns Bethesda, they came out in a post and said thousands of our ZeniMax coworkers now have a free and fair path to organize together for better working conditions. When we organized our union under a similar legal agreement that the process was clear and management did not try to influence anyone's decision, and the company did not try to interfere with the voting process. There is strength in numbers, and as our numbers grow at ZeniMax and at Microsoft and in the video game industry, we will gain the respect we deserve and raise the standards of working conditions for everyone across the video game industry. When we benefit, the consumer and the company will ultimately benefit with us and help keep this industry stable for current and future workers. I think this is a great thing to happen because guess what? A lot of people have been losing their jobs recently, and even if this fails for whatever reason, I think that it's a good stepping stone for more people to form and maybe do something better. It's like working environments inside of video games have been hush-hush for quite some time. It's finally coming around that, like, okay, yeah, there's tons of crunch, there's tons of stuff going on that's, been pretty crazy. And the one thing that I think is most important here is if these people do get better work conditions, then the games are going to show more passion behind them, more love behind them. We can't have another Redfall experience. We can't have another substandard Bethesda release. Bethesda used to be the love child, the love of many people out there, including myself. I mean, and they just have not put out anything too crazy since Xbox bought them, to be honest. And even like Doom Eternal and Wolfenstein 2 just did not live up to what I wanted them to be. And yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, this is good. And once again, even if this does fail or even if this doesn't go anywhere, it's still a nice stepping stone in terms of like, okay, this is kind of like the what we should be doing. This is kind of like where we should start. And hopefully more people will, or more developers will either join this or form their own unions. Lastly, well, I guess not lastly for Xbox, but continuing the Xbox news, the Arcane Austin developers posted a final farewell message from the studio, talking to, they just wanted to be thankful of the people who supported them throughout the years. So in a Twitter post, Harvey Smith, aka Harvey1966, said, Redfall's final patch is live. Months of work by the team on this, the revamp version, and the Herculean effort by all involved over the last few years. Big system refactor, more encounter types. Have fun, always. In a continuation, Emily E. Mio said, So it was all more crushing when we had to shut down and give up on this game after this patch, and then the future will never see the light of day. But as of now, thank you to all the efforts from the developers, etc., etc. So yeah, Redfall Update 4 is the final update for the game, offering offline mode, single-player pausing, new unrivaled weapon, revamped neighborhood and nest system, new enemy encounters in Redfall Commons, DLSS3 support, and some more. So it was a big update for the game, and I'm sure it improves a lot of what it was going for. Maybe I'll boot up Redfall and see if it's any better than what it was. I don't have high hopes because the game was pretty abysmal when I played it, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. So yeah, it's kind of like a bittersweet moment, especially for these developers who've been working on this for quite some time. And as we know from that report, not everyone at the studio really wanted to work on Redfall. So maybe it's like the chains are finally lifted, but also it's probably like yeah, but the chains are lifted and now we're in a jobless, So unfortunate as it is, but yeah, there's a heartfelt messages all over the place for the Redfall development team. On the flip side, they have revealed Call of Duty Black Ops 6, The Truth Lies, live action reveal trailer. So the trailer, this is a very odd one. Just like the other Black Ops games, they're using real historical figures, much like, there was Fidel Castro in Black Ops 1 with the JFK, and then in Black Ops Cold War, you saw like Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan. And in this one, it looks like we're getting John F. Kennedy, right? Who's that president? Oh, no, Bill Clinton. We're getting Bill Clinton in this one, which is extra odd because he's still alive. It's a bit odd for them to be using his likeliness or his, him in general, just because, he's still alive. I feel like maybe we could wait until he's passed on. I don't think we need to... I don't know. It's just weird. Also, another guy kind of looks like George Bush, I think. Another guy kind of looked like Joseph Stalin, to be honest. But yeah, there's a... they revealed what the game case is pretty much going to look like. Kind of like every other Black Ops cover case, besides from, Cold War, with a guy holding two pistols sitting down. The trailer wasn't anything I was too crazy about, but they did confirm that the game will be released on Xbox Game Pass day one with no extra cost. The trailer also confirms that the main reveal of the game is going to take place on June 9th, which we already knew about during the Xbox Game Showcase. So we can expect more then, but as of right now, boom bada bing, Black Ops 6 trailer. All right, Little Nightmares 3 has been delayed into 2025. In a post on Twitter, the developers came out and said, "Hello, little ones. Ever since the announcement of Little Nightmares 3 at Gamescom last year, we've been thrilled to see our community buzzing with excitement and anticipation. The teams at Supermassive Games and Bandai Namco Europe have been working hard towards delivering the best experience possible for the next entry of the franchise. As much as we can't wait for you to return to the nowhere, we also want to make sure we give the game the care and love it deserves. Quality is our top priority, and we know you feel the same way. For those reasons, we've made the decision to shift the release of the game to 2025. We'll be sharing more about Little Nightmares 3 later this summer, so please bear with us and look forward to further updates. In the meantime, we'd like to thank you for your patience and ongoing support." So that tells me that they are going to be showing some stuff off at Summer Games Fest possibly. So they're just going to take a little bit more time with the game, polish it up, get it working to the standards that they have and that we have, which is always good. I always say this, but delays aren't a bad thing. And in this case, it seems like that rings true still to this day. Finally, for the news, Sony has invited the public to play a pinball machine, a PS5-inspired pinball machine with a little Astrobot guy in there as well. So this is a little fun thing. I think it's in Japan. It's like a huge pinball machine. It's a huge one. So essentially, you play with the PS5 controller, and you go through this like little pinball thingamajiggy. It's on PlayStation UK's YouTube channel, so maybe this is in Europe that they're showing this. There was I believe it's also in Japan as well, but it looks kind of fun, looks kind of cool. I would love to play this myself, but of course I don't think it's anywhere near me. Apparently they're putting this up for the UEFA Championships Festival in Trafalgar Square. There you go. If you get a high score, you can win tickets to see the UCL final. There you go. All right, let's move on and talk about what's coming soon. All right, Homelander is finally coming to Mortal Kombat 1. As you already know, the actor who played Homelander will not be voicing the character, and that's very apparent from the first few seconds of the trailer. In terms of like moveset, yeah, I mean, he's very much just a Superman clone, I would say. His moveset is very similar. Maybe he's a little bit more brutal, I guess, but yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like super crazy unique. It looks like they really did just kind of reskin some movesets from Superman. They also showed off the new cameo fighter who kind of works like Ferretor. I think it is Farah. She like jumps on your back and you can throw her at people and she can attack them, which is pretty cool. I like that idea. I mean, Ferretor was one of the better characters from Mortal Kombat X, so it's nice to see some love for the characters, seeing as it was a fan favorite. In terms of like the fatality and the like the brutality, or not brutality, but like the special finisher move, I mean, it was fine. It doesn't like the fatality itself. It's so weird. It's very like Incredibles inspired, really. The one that they showed with like he like throws the character into like an airplane and then throws them through the engine. Like he doesn't even do anything. The other one is much better that they showed off, where he like essentially uses his laser vision to laser through the guy's head, and then he looks down and slices his body in half. Like that's better. But yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know. The reveal wasn't great. I mean, the voice acting is mid at best. The fatality was okay. Like the second one was better, and then the Farah fatality was pretty nice. But other than that, I wasn't super impressed with the way that this character looks. Once again, like if you played as Superman, that's pretty much it. And once again, his voice just doesn't sound right because it's not the actor. Star Wars Hunters. They showed off the game modes, characters, arenas, and more. If you don't know what this is another hero brawler / shooter. where you play as teams of like four, and you go against each other and try and win. Obviously, characters inspired by various Star Wars lore. Like you have a Wookiee in there, you have a droideka in there, you have a stormtrooper with a Gatling gun, kind of like the Clone Wars. You also have like a bounty hunter, kind of inspired by the Mandalorians. You have a Inquisitor kind of character. The droideka is pretty cool. I like the design of the droideka too. So yeah, much like you expect, each character kind of has their own thing going on. With Jedi's having some force powers, the bounty hunters being able to fly and stuff, and looks like boss type characters in there as well. A Jawa character too, which is kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't look bad per se. I definitely want to check this out. I think it's going to be free to play, so that's also an incentive to swing by and see how it is. I believe it's only releasing on mobile and Switch right now. So I will be playing the Switch version most likely. Maybe this will be a secret little hidden gem kind of thing. Maybe not. I don't know. The trailer, though, looks pretty good. But the footage that they were showing in the trailer was all mobile version of the game. You can tell because the buttons are on the screen. So who knows how the Switch version is going to run at this point. As for Hero Brawlers, this one does seem to have a bit of like... I mean, it has more uniqueness than freaking Concord for sure. Like each character does look very unique. They all have their unique stuff to them. There doesn't seem to be like one character that's like exactly based on like an Overwatch character or something like that. So that is nice to see. I'm not trying to hype this up for any reason other than I think that the trailer looked pretty good. I don't mind it, but of course you gotta let the gameplay speak for itself. So we'll see how that goes when it does release on June 4th. A game called Caravan Sandwich was announced recently. This is a cutesy kind of game where it looks like it's kind of like a cartoony graphic style where you drive around in your little caravan, but there's also like platforming and stuff to do on foot as well. It seems like a cozy kind of game. If you remember Justant, I think the graphic style kind of reminds me of that from last year. They didn't really show too much else off other than like, okay, a couple sections where you're running around, a couple sections where you're driving, you meet like a little axolotl type character. Looks pretty cozy, looks kind of fun. It's going to be a narrative adventure in a sci-fi world inspired by Provenance. So yeah, looks like it's going to be kind of fun. Supposedly it's coming out sometime in 2024, so we will go from there. Hypercharge Unboxed. It's now available on Xbox. If you buy it now, you get a discount as well if you want to check that out. This is a game that came out a couple years ago on Steam. It was a pretty cool little game where you played as like action figures and did like a defense mode. Greedy Waffles and I played it for a little while. Kind of fell off of it, I think, but it was a pretty fun little game for what it was. And now it's officially on Xbox, which is nice. A little bit of a wider audience for it. I think that's definitely worth picking up and playing, especially if you love tower defense games. And this one's kind of quirky. Ryan's, it's like Toy Story in a way where you play as the action figures fighting off these other action figures and various toys, like bouncy balls, army men, etc. So if that sounds like something that you'll enjoy, then you might want to try and pick this up. It's about $30 on the Xbox if you want to check that out. It might come to Xbox Game Pass in the future, but we'll wait and see. The Celeste composer revealed a new shmup coming soon called Another Eel. Another Eel. It was originally called Project Ashtray, but yeah, this is some sort of shmup, I guess, / RPG where you play as like this, I don't know, girl or something like that, and then you do shmuppy things. It's kind of reminds me of obviously it reminds me of Undertale, and not so much Celeste, much more like Undertale inspired, I think. But if you want to check that out, it's on the Lena Rain YouTube channel. The music is obviously bopping. Another reel. Seems like it's gonna be kind of interesting. If you want to check that out. There's been no Switch or console version as of right now, but a PC version is coming soon, I think.
Explore and discover a world within and beyond Astra's childhood home. Full of puzzles, mysteries, and weirdos, meet new friends and help Astra navigate the real. Shoot, dodge, absorb, and retaliate in shmup-style combat. Customize her loadout with meaningful objects, experiences, companions, and parts. Obtain and use items. And there's an original story and artwork made by Lena Rain. So, looks promising. If you want to check that out, if you like shmups, it might be one that you want to look into. Another reel. All right, this was shown off during the limited run games direct or whatever it was. Tomba Special Edition. It finally has a release date. So Tomba is like this caveman style 2D side-scrolling platformer kind of thing. And it was and there was like a collection coming out for it, including Tomba, which is a 2.5D platformer, and also like I think another version of the game as well, a remaster or whatever. It also includes new features to the classic to help introduce a whole whatever. So yeah, it's going to be coming August 1st. You can either get the physical version on Limited Run Games' website, or you can buy it on any digital platform at this point. But it's nice to see that's coming soon. I don't think they announced a price for it, did they? I mean, the digital version can't be more than like $20, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure about if there is there a physical edition? I'm not sure. Well, either way, it's coming August 1st if you want to check that out. The special edition of Tomba. In other news, LEGO has unveiled the Great Deku Tree 2-in-1 Zelda set. You can pre-order it now if you so desire. So this is going to be $300. The Deku Tree set contains 2,500 pieces, and you can build the iconic landmark in two different ways. One modeled after Ocarina of Time, and the other the Breath of the Wild version. I didn't even know there was a Breath of the Wild version. So one version is like green, lush. The other version is like a springtime cherry blossom type thing to it. Also, there's a original like Link or Ocarina of Time figure, and there's also Breath of the Wild style versions of both him and Zelda. So if you want to check that out, looks pretty cool. I mean, $300 is a big ask, but if it's two sets in one technically, I suppose. I like the original Deku Tree version better than the Breath of the Wild version. The branches coming out of his eyes are a bit weird. But if you're interested in that, maybe pre-order that. $300 is a lot to put down on something like this, but if you're a super fan, it'll be worth it. Maybe. And then here are your PlayStation Plus Essential Games for June 2024. These will be available to download on the 4th of June. We have SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. It was a decent game. I enjoyed it. I think I liked it better than Rehydrated, the Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. AEW Fight Forever. This is a wrestling game. I don't know how much of that I'll play. And then Streets of Rage 4, which is a classic side-scrolling brawler. And then also they already revealed some of the games coming to the... Actually, I think they already revealed these. But here are some dates for games coming to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers. So we have Dredge on the 29th of May, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 on the 31st, Cricket 24 on the 5th of June, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord on PSVR 2 on the 6th of June, Walk Around Mini Golf on June 6th as well, Synth Riders, Before Your Eyes, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 and 2, all of these coming out June 6th. On the 7th, you get GTA San Andreas Definitive Edition. On the 11th, Tomb Raider Legend on PS2, along with Star Wars Clone Wars and Sly Cooper, The Thievius Raccoonus. So, there you go. The PlayStation Plus Essential games, not super crazy about. I've already have the Cosmic Shake. AEW Fight Forever, I'm not really super interested in that. And then Streets of Rage 4, I already have that on PC. But I hear it's a good game. Other than that, not really the month for me, but I'm sure there's someone out there who's very excited. And it's in general, it's probably a good month, but not for me. All right, let's go ahead and finish this up with What's That Song? If you know the song's name and the game that it came from, I will give you a free super reaction in the Discord, or if you type it down below in the comments section on YouTube, I will give you a hearty congratulations and a heart. If you want to, make sure you like the video if you're listening to this on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, please leave a 5-star review or whatever you think is appropriate for the podcast. It does help the show grow. All right, let's go ahead and hear what today's song is right now. Okay, if you know the name of the song and the game that came from, I will give you the things that I mentioned before. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. If you want to check me out, I'm YemmytheFerret on Twitch at twitch.tv/YemmytheFerret. We stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and we're adding Wednesday streams in for the contest that happens all the way through summer. We're playing random games. We just finished Freedom Cry, and we're going to start Sherlock Holmes: The Devil's Daughter next, which I'm a little bit nervous about. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but we'll see. We'll see. Other than that, I also run a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z. We talk about movies. The latest episode is about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, if you want to check that out. All right, folks. I am YemmytheFerret. This has been Ferret64. Appreciate you listening on whatever platform you're listening on. I'll talk at you next week. Bye-bye.
The Ferret64 podcast is owned and edited by YemmytheFerret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by YemmytheFerret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.